Welcome to EGI webinar. I'm Siew Leong from Munich Supercomputing Center. The title of today's webinar is VOMS support, MyProxy tool, and Globus Online tool in GSI-SSHTerm. An overview of the talk today. I will begin with an introduction to GSI-SSHTerm, show the new features, give a demo, and show some tricks and upcoming plans, and finally end it with a summary. So if you want to do any of this from your laptop, for example, automatic setup and update of EGI VOMS and VOMSes, generate and upload a VOMS-enabled proxy to a MyProxy server, start big data transfer with Globus Online, have one tool to access both EGI and praise resources, then GSI-SSHTerm is the right tool for you. It is operating system independent since it's developed in Java. It provides a one-click install and launch web start version. It automatically install and configure EU Grid PMACA certs for you, and also install and configure VOMS and VOMSes with all EGI VOs automatically. So what exactly is it? It is, to put it simply, a Java-based terminal client for interactive access via SSH or GSI-SSH. So GSI-SSH is basically just that instead of using username and password, you use certificates for authentication. But it includes a lot more. It has tools like MyProxy tool, Globus Online tool, VO management tool, secure tunneling, SFTP session. So basically, it is an all-in-one tool to support your everyday scientific work. A history of GSI-SSHTerm. It was originally known as SSHTerm and was developed to be a Java-based SSH terminal. The last known release was 0.2.2 in September 2003. I have included the link here for those who are interested. It was later renamed as GSI-SSHTerm by STFC and NGS UK, who added GSI capabilities on top of it. Additionally, they have also added VOMS support in cooperation with the SubWizard team from NGS. However, since SubWizard is a closed-source project, the corresponding VOMS support within GSI-SSHTerm is also closed-sourced. The last release from GSI-SSHTerm is 0.91H in April 2010. Since then, there was no new release due to a restriction in manpower and funding. The development effort began at Era Z in 2009. We began by evaluating GSI-SSHTerm for our grid users. We noted that it was a great piece of software, but noticed that it requires additional customization for European grid users that are outside of the UK. So we made the first improvement and we contributed back to the GSI-SSHTerm developers. One of the most significant improvements is the support of multiple key cert entries within a PKCS12 trust store. This was a requirement from France, where the French CA will by default give the users a PKCS12 trust store with both the user cert and key and the CA certificates included within the trust store. However, other improvements did not make it due to the manpower restriction that I mentioned earlier, since they do not have sufficient manpower to evaluate the code changes. Ultimately, it leads to a branch out from GSI-SSHTerm based on 0.91H. We have made some major improvements since then, including Mac OS X support. This includes the use of keychain access for certificates. There is also an automatic installation and update of EU Grid PMACA certificates. Thus, all European users should now be able to use our version of GSI-SSHTerm without any additional customization. We also included support of OpenSSL 1.0 XPAM certificate keys access, so PKCS8 is supported. We also added MyProxy 2, a Globus Online 2, and re-implemented the VOMS authentication interface. So we basically simplified it with some feature enhancement and also added the automatic installation and update of VOMS and VOMS files for all EGI VOs. We have to re-implement the VOMS authentication interface due to a growing number of feature requests and bug fixes that came in. Finally, we added a VO management tool to enable users to easily manage the EGI VOs since there are hundreds of them. These are all available in the latest release 1.4.0. Now let me show you some of the features of GSI-SSHTerm. The main functionality of GSI-SSHTerm is interactive access. You can use it to GSI-SSH to an EGI or praise resource and then from there submit a job. There is also a MyProxy 2 included within it where it supports the creation and upload including a VOMS-enabled proxy, remove or destroy a proxy and retrieve proxy information. In the new release 1.4.0, we have additional features including the VO management tool, where it automatically installs all EGI VO configurations. Since there are hundreds of them, to allow you to better manage this, you can add the VO you belongs to favorites. This is the new VO authentication interface where you're allowed to select between RFC impersonation and legacy proxy. Then from your favorites, you can choose the VO that you want to get a VOMS proxy from. It will then tell you that you have successfully created a VOMS proxy. And if you choose a lifetime that is greater than the VO extension that is allowed from your VO server, it would inform you that it has been reduced accordingly. Please note that this restriction is not a restriction of this tool, but a restriction of the VO admin. This is how the Globus Online tool looks like. You can use it to transfer data using Grid FTP. What we provide is a drag and drop transfer folder interface. You can create new folder, remove folders and files, view file information, and has a task management frame. What is not included is endpoint management and user management that you have to do it on Globus Online web interface accordingly. Now we move on to the demo. This is the documentation of GSI-SSHTerm hosted at LRZ. You will find a quick start guide here that is rather comprehensive. If you need any additional information, do not hesitate to contact us at GridAdmin at LRZ. To launch GSI-SSHTerm, you simply have to click on this link, and it will download the Java Web Start JNLP file that you have to start with your Java Web Start application. Depending on your internet connection speed, you might wait for a few seconds to a few minutes. You will see a window similar to this asking you if you would accept a digital signature from PN Siew, Hoon, Leong code signing certificate. If you want to look at the detail, just simply click on it and check it. And if you trust it, click on Allowed. And shortly after this, your GSI-SSHTerm window will be launched. For those who have already done this once, you will notice that it is installed on your local and you can start it accordingly too. For Windows users, you will see a quick start icon on your desktop. To check the version, you can select Helped, About, and that will tell you when this was last built and the version that you are using. To get information about what have been changed, simply click on this link. And what is on top are the changes that have been added within this release. To reach the quick start guide that I mentioned, you can click on Beginners, and this will open the window that you sent just now. I will now show you how to log in to a Praise resource using GSI-SSHTerm as a terminal client. To create a new connection, you can select File, New Connection. Alternatively, you can click on the shortcut link available on the leftmost corner. We are going to log on to SuperMOOC at era Z. Normally, you just have to click on OK and you will log in. For today, I would choose Advanced so as to show you the available options. By default, we assume that the port for a GSI-SSH server is 2222. If you are using a server with a different port number, you would have to change this accordingly. If you have multiple accounts associated with your user certificate, you would have to specify the user name that you want to log into with here. This is the options for turning on the VOMS support. If you want this client to help you create a VOMS-enabled proxy, you will have to checkbox this. Since we are attempting to log into a Praise resource, this option is not necessary at this moment. I will go through the tab to give you an idea of what options are available. This is also a very useful tab. If you would like to change the colors of your terminal, you can do so. You can also change the font size accordingly. Finally, this is one of the most critical options. Allows you to choose your authentication order. By default, in my case, I have this proxy set. So if I have already created this proxy, it will use it. If this proxy is not available, it will use my certificate in the browser. Since I have a MacBook, my browser certificate is in Keychain Access. If a browser certificate is also not available, it will use the PAM P12 key available in your .globus directory. This is as per Globus settings. And finally, if all three options above failed, it will allow you to choose other methods. And other methods you will find MyProxy server. To download a certificate for MyProxy server as an available authentication option. So I will leave my option as such and click on connect. As you can see, the background has now changed to white. So now that you are logged on to SuperMOOC, you can do your usual daily work. For example, if you like this option, not this option, but this setting, you can save a copy of it. So something like SuperMOOC white. And this will later be available here under recent. I'll show you how to log into another Praise machine using a safe configuration. You can do it by choosing File, Open, and choose the corresponding XML file. So in this case, I want to log into Sarah, so I choose Sarah. Since my connection to SuperMOOC is still open, so it's prompting me this. So I tell him that I want to close the current connection and log into Sarah. As you can see, now I'm logged into Sarah. In the Netherlands, normally if you log into a Praise resource, the first thing you do is to do a module load Praise, and then you can start with daily work. Let me show you a few more features of GSI-SSHTerm. If you need more than one window to Sarah, you can just open a new terminal session by clicking on the icon here. Alternatively, you can do it with Tools, terminal session. You can obviously open more than one. So I'm going to close all of this for the time being. For some people who are a bit more particular about the ID window, they told me they would prefer XTerm. So you can also do that. There's no problem about it. So now you have a regular X11 XTerm window. If you want to connect to another machine, you should choose this icon. and this will open another window. So for example, let's go back to SuperMOOC. I will choose SuperMOOC White again. And you can see I'm logged into SuperMOOC without any problems. Okay, let me show you how to log into an EGI resource now. Let's first close this connection and destroy the proxy as usual. Okay, now I will show you how to log into an EGI resource. Of course, the first thing you need is a resource with a GSI-SSH server installed. Since I have such a resource within my VO, and this is hosted at Sky-Fraunhofer in Germany. So to turn on VOMS support, we'll have to checkbox the enable VOMS support option. And just for demonstration purpose, I'll move my authentication method PAM user credential to the top, not the top, the second option. And you see, this is a part of the VOMS support that we have provided. You are allowed to choose a proxy type, so we support both legacy and RFC compliant. I'll leave it with RFC compliant. And since I choose to authenticate with my PAN certificate, so it's now prompting me to enter my PAN passphrase. Earlier, we have been using the browser certificate, and thus I was not prompted with this. So now it wants me to choose the VO I belongs to. So I have added the VOs that I am under in favorites. So for today, I will try to log in with my virtual.eu VO. So all you have to do is to double click on the selection and click on VOMS proxy init button. Now I'm logged into GLite UI. So I can do my usual GLite commands and submit a job to WMS or CREAM accordingly. So I will log out of this resource. And before I destroy the proxy, let me show you the proxy that was generated. And this time around, and you can see the VOMS extension that was created for this particular proxy, and it shows you the VOMS extension lifetime. And as you can see, the VOMS extension lifetime and the proxy lifetime is not exactly the same. This is because the VOMS extension lifetime is determined by the VO admin, whatever they set on the VO server. In my case, for virtual.eu, 24 hours is set, and this is quite typical. Many VOs use 24 hours as a default. There are certain VOs that uses 12 hours instead. So if you want a VOMS extension lifetime to change, you would have to negotiate with your VO admin. Okay, now we'll destroy the proxy. We'll move on now to take a look at the tools offered within GSI-SSHTerm. The first tool I will show you is the VO management tool. So you are allowed to choose where you want your VO configuration files to be installed. By default, it is in $home.glite. However, you are not allowed to change the structure within it, and so your VOMS directory will always be under this VOMS location, and there will also be a VOMS's directory. Okay, I will leave everything as default, and now I'm logged in. So, as I told you earlier, all EGI VOs are installed automatically, but then there are too many of them for you to easily manage. So for example, if you belongs to DITC, you can just right click and say add to favorites, and DITC will end up here. So as far as I know, Dream EU, for example, if you want to know information about it, you can right click and say show information. It will tell you that they actually have 2 VOMS servers that can offer you VOMS proxy. And yeah, so if you do not want, you realize you've added something wrong, again, right click on it and say remove from favorites, and that's it. If you have some new VOs that are not within EGI and you would like to configure it, you can right click and say add VO. Then you can enter the corresponding VO name, for example, my VO, the server abc.lrz.de, for example, port number 12, 120, whatever DN it might be. And the issuer DN, and then if you click on OK, it will successfully create this. Of course, now this is fake, so it doesn't do much. So I will remove it. Okay, so this is what you can do with the VO management tool. I will now show you the next tool, MyProxy tool. To start a MyProxy tools, you can select Tools, MyProxy tool, or just click on the shortcut link available here. MyProxy tool supports these three features: create and upload proxy, remove or destroy proxy, retrieve proxy information. So we will now show you create and upload proxy. By default, we support two MyProxy server, one at LRZ and one in SARA. These two MyProxy servers are public MyProxy servers, which means anyone with a valid UGRID PMA certificate can use these two servers. However, for this demo, I will show you how to use this tool with EGI.EU MyProxy server. In this case, you have to use the username of your single sign-on EGI account, and you are allowed to generate your proxy from three certificate formats: PAM, PKCS12, and existing disk proxy. I will choose PAM again. And since I want a VOMS enabled proxy, I will checkbox from enable proxy option. I'm now entering the passphrase of my PAM certificate. I click on create and store, and once again I'm asked to choose the proxy type. I leave it at my RFC compliance, choose my VO, and generate the proxy. Informs me that the lifetime of my VOMS extension is only 23 hours and 59 minutes because I have asked for a proxy for 168 hours. And as we mentioned earlier, a VOMS server can only give you a VOMS extension as long as what the time that was configured by the VOMS admin, in this case 24 hours. So the upload passphrase for EGI.EU MyProxy server is your single sign-on password. So you have to enter the single sign-on password, and you click on OK, and it tells you that it's successfully saved and stored. So now I close this. No, I don't close this too. I will show you how to retrieve information from the server. I click on retrieve, and you see I can see that I have a valid proxy on this server. I can also say destroy and remove it. And then once I do that, if I check again, it will tell me there's no valid proxy because I have no credential. So I will close this tool for now and move on to the next tool. I will now show you Globus Online tool. To start Globus Online tools, you can select Tools, Globus Online tool. Alternatively, you can select the shortcut link available there. You have to enter your GO username and select the certificate type that you want to generate your proxy from. And obviously type in your PAM passphrase if you choose local PAM. And this is an optional service. If you want to use it with G-Lite resource, then you need a VOMS enabled proxy. And this is a very useful service where you can upload credential automatically and pass this to Globus Online all automatically. So I will use it to show you. So I want to use RFC compliant. Select my VO, generate the proxy, and enter the upload passphrase. And it tells me that now my credential has been uploaded to myproxy.riz.de. This is by default, and the username selected or used is the username you have on your local machine. And what it does is when you exit Globus Online 2, this proxy will automatically be removed from the server. So I select OK. And now it will try to get a list of endpoints from Globus Online. So under my username, I have a number of endpoints. I'll leave it with Chinika. This is a praise resource that I have access to. So I click on Go, and it will now try to get the list of files and folders in my home directory. Over here, I would like to connect to my VO, so I choose my VO, and it's called Virtual, the endpoints that we have. As you can see, it does some kind of autocomplete, and the one I want to link to is IPGP EGI. This is in France at IPGP. Okay, so now you can see the available folders for under my vhost space in virtual.eu in France. I would now show you how to copy a 1 GB file from a EGI resource to a praise resource. So basically what I do is I click and drag and drop into the other site that I want, into the folder that I want on the praise resource. And it will ask me for confirmation. I've clicked on yes earlier, and now it will send this request to Globus Online. And while this is ongoing, you will not be able to click on any window. As you can see, once it gets a reply from Globus Online, it updates into this task management window, and it shows you that the transfer is still ongoing, is active. So if you right click on this account, there's only one option available, which is refresh. So if you refresh it, and now you can see the details. As you can see, only 600 meg has been copied. The transfer is incomplete. That's why the status is still active. Okay, while this transfer is ongoing, I will show you another transfer. This time around, I will try to transfer a folder called next folder. Oh, there is already a next folder available here. So I will still try to copy next folder, but I will put it into next folder. So I will say yes, and now it's trying to copy this folder from praise resource into an EGI resource folder. So while this is ongoing, again, you can't access the window. So as usual, if it is this transfer has apparently been completed, and we can check also by doing a refresh of the original folder to see if everything you expect to be in there are in there. So I can also create a new folder here, EFG. Here, and now it says that the directory have been successfully created, and you can see it here now. But of course there is nothing inside, so I can try to copy a small file over to EFG, and we can also check if the 1 GB file is completed shortly once I get the control back to my window. So as you can see, it's still talking to Globus Online and task I can't see. And now it gets an update. It shows that all the transfer I have has been completed, and at the same time I also received notification for Globus Online. So I did not manage to get the task list immediately when I was doing the transfer because there seems to be a delay on the Globus Online side. So when Globus Online is able to reply, I get both emails and the task update information simultaneously. Okay, so let's refresh this folder. And I would want to check if it's now 1 gig. Yes, indeed, it's now 1 gigabyte. So the transfer has indeed been completed. So I will now try to delete this 1 gigabyte file since it's wasting my hard disk space. Of course, you can also delete folders. So it has already tells me that delete has successfully completed. Now I want to delete this next folder. And again, you see the spinning wheel. Okay, it tells you that next folder has been successfully removed. And there you go. So this is the Globus Online tool that we provide. Okay, that concludes our demo. I will now show you some tricks that you can play with GSI-SSHTerm. So there are two configuration files in your $home.ssh-term that GSI-SSHTerm creates. The .properties file is probably the most important file. It contains all the properties of your configuration, for example, the authentication order, your username, which authentication method you prefer, and such. And there is another file, the go.tasklog.json. This file contains the task manager information for your Globus Online too. It keeps a record of a task that has been performed within 7 days. And you are allowed to configure the install and download CAs option automatically by choosing another CA. So if you have your own personal CA and you still want to use GSI-SSHTerm, you can still do so. You have to modify the .properties file I mentioned earlier and add the following line: sshterm.myproxy.ca.cert.url to another tar.gz location. But it has to be HTTP, of course. Next, if you would like to configure GSI-SSHTerm to install and download VOMS from another location, you can do so too. Again, the same .properties file. You have to add this line: sshterm.voms.config.url to another HTTP tar.gz file location. However, you need the same data directory structure and naming, so please double check your .glite folder that GSI-SSHTerm has created for you and tries to follow this structure. We are actively developing GSI-SSHTerm, so we do have some things in our roadmap. One of the most critical plans that we have is to support JGlobus 2 and SHA-2 before December. And we are trying to cooperate with the original GSI-SSHTerm developers since the JGlobus integration was performed by them. Additionally, the remote VNC support in GSI-SSHTerm is outdated, and thus we need to update it to a newer protocol. So we intend to do this too. In summary, GSI-SSHTerm is a Java-based terminal client but offers a lot more. It has many useful tools and features that can support both EGI and Praise user. The most important feature being the automatic installation and update of EGI VOMS and VOMSs and EU GRIP PMACA certificates. It has a very useful VO management tool and simple to use VO authentication interface. Additionally, it provides a MyProxy tool and Globus Online tool. So it is one tool in all for your daily scientific work. If you want more information, you can refer to our documentation at ERAZ, and I have provided the shortcut link to launch the Java Web Start version. So GSI-SSHTerm, the ERAZ maintained one, has been used by EGI in both projects Virtue and Dream, EGCF, Praise, Globus Online, ERAZ. It was previously used by DISA, IGE, and Degree in Germany. If you have any change or feature requests or questions, do not hesitate and submit it to the EGCF request tracker. So, to get a free account, please join EGCF. EGCF is European Globus Community Forum, and the registration is also free. For EGI users, you can also submit it to EGI GCAS. This is linked to our tracker. For non-EGI users, you can submit your requests or questions to gridadmin at ERAZ. I thank you very much for your attention today. Hope to see you again.